y'all, welcome back to Mama for Life. My name is Trina, and today, y'all, we are here for part 2. Now, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know that part 2 is longer than I thought it was going to be. Like, after I wrote down everything, y'all, I'm going to just tell you like this. If you got some cleaning to do, if you got some laundry to do, if you got something that's going to take a while, this will be great for that. Because, honey, we're going to be here. We're going to be here, okay? All right. But yes, let it play in the background and we're going to go ahead and get started. If you have not watched part 1, baby, go ahead and go back and see what I was talking about in there. Because you need part 1. That's the foundation before you really honestly start part 2. But I'm going to tell you right now, part 2 it needs a trigger warning. So same message as before. I'm going to be speaking about sexual abuse, child abuse, and just childhood trauma. So if that's something you're sensitive to, I wouldn't watch. And if you do want to watch and you do want to be supportive and that's how you want to support me to be a listening ear, I greatly appreciate it. But like I said in the first one, the second it gets to be too much, going on and click off, sis. Going on and click off. Don't do it to yourself, okay? I'm not asking you to do it to yourself. I don't want you to do it to yourself. This is just me to just get it off. So whoever can hang. If you can't, I still appreciate you listening to whatever you can. Go ahead and we're going to get started. So we left off on part 1, and part 1 ended with 7 to 8. Going forward, I do want to let you guys know, give you a heads up. Some of these stories are a bit graphic. And so, like I said, just want to give you that trigger warning. But we're going to go ahead and start with part 2. And I'm going to continue from age 8 to about 10. During this time, this was a very chaotic point in my life. I went from living in a very loving home, a home I felt safe in, to living in a chaotic home that I did not feel safe in. During this time period, Pops had started drinking a lot more. Him and my mom were arguing a lot more. This is during the time where he started sexually abusing me as well. It was a very rough time for me. I do remember one of the first times where I started to feel unsafe around him. He had started hitting me on my behind, and I did not like that, and I asked him to stop, and he replied to me saying something along the lines of, I'm a grown man, I can do what I want to. And I remember feeling very unsafe at that time. Like, I remember feeling scared. Like, he is a grown man. Does that mean that he can touch me when he wants to? Like, does that mean that I can't say I don't want someone touching me? And so that definitely troubled me, but I did go to my mom. I don't know how soon I went to her. Like, I don't remember that detail, but I know I did go to her, and I told her, can you please tell Dad to stop touching me? And she was like, what do you mean touching you? Like, how is he touching you? If a child goes to someone in that manner, they're immediately going to lack confidence that a resolution is going to be reached. They're going to feel like they're in trouble. And that's how I felt. And I told her, I said, he touched my butt and I asked him not to. And she was like, what do you mean he'll touch your butt? Like, was your clothes on? And I told her, no, my clothes was on. And I was like, we were in the kitchen and I asked him not to. And she was like, girl, you being dramatic. Like, it's not, like, pretty much she, like, made me feel like I was doing too much by complaining about it. I never told her anything else after that. Like, I never mentioned any of the other things he did to make me uncomfortable because of how she responded to my concern at that time. That was another thing that kind of contributed to me looking at her differently just because of that. I'll be honest and say I do believe that I was touched before 8 simply because of some of the things that I had done between the ages of 2 and 5. There were things that I was doing to other friends, like my little friends that were my age, things that I was doing to my siblings at that age. And at that age, like, I'm a baby. I'm 2 to 5. Like, that's too young to do some of the things that I was doing. And while I will say that I acknowledge that I was watching some movies that I shouldn't have been watching with, like let's say my parents were watching something, I was sitting there on the couch, like, they may tell me as soon as something comes up to close my eyes, but I've already seen it. And the thing that makes me feel like I was touched, and it wasn't just because I was watching something I wasn't supposed to. It's because, like, if we're being honest, and I'm not trying to be too graphic, but most times when you see movies like that have those type of scenes in them, it's more so like foreplay, like just kissing and, all of that. And then it, goes right to, doing what they do. Whereas for my memories, there was none of that, like no kissing or nothing. Like it was straight. I know exactly where I want, you to touch me, and I know where to touch you. And so that's why I feel like, how could a 2 to 5-year-old know that? I'm not watching that on TV. And I believe that truly. I truly believe that in my heart, that something was going on way before 8. And I don't know if he knew. Well, the instance with the friend, I was about 4 years old, so they knew that the friend had came over, and my mom walked in on us, and obviously she told the parents, and so pops found out about it as well. I don't know if like that contributed to him thinking that I would be okay with that type of touch and stuff like that, but I believe in my heart that I was touched prior to 8. I just don't have memory of it, of like actually being sexually abused like I do from the age of 8 and on. Now, I do believe he was testing the waters just to see exactly how far he could go before I would tell. But I will tell you that when I did tell, it backfired on me, because everything that he could pick on me about, he did. Like, I was just like any other little girl. I like to paint my nails, like to do stuff like that, little girly stuff. And my mama was weird when it came to like certain nail polish colors. So she had red, but she wouldn't let me wear red because she said red for little girls is grown, which makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. If you don't know what being grown is, or like being fast, it just means that you're trying to pretty much be asexual, like you trying to do things that you ain't got no business, right? And so I don't know how wearing red polish is doing that, but that's what she said. So she would only let me wear the white one. I could wear white or clear. And so after I had told on Pops, he started to say like I can't wear polish. And my mom would be like, it's okay, it's not that big of a deal. But, he would be like, no. And so one day I asked my mom, like, can I wear polish? Pop said I can't wear it, but can I wear it? Like, she was doing her nails. And she was like, yeah, you can paint your nails. So I painted my nails. And I want to say I painted them clear. Like, the first time I got in trouble, they were white. And then the second time, I'm like, well, it's clear, so it's not necessarily even a color. And he was like, well, what did I tell you? What did I say? I'm like, but my mama said I could. He's like, well, what did I say? And my mama never came and saved me. Like, she wasn't like, okay, well, this is my daughter. Like, none of that. It was just like, okay, I can't wear it anymore. Picking with me on stuff like that to like just try to take whatever little joy I had to try to take it from me. On top of that, there were so many other things going on about this time. So during this time, he had actually started coming in the bathroom while me and my sister would be in the bathroom. I want to say I even said something about it. Like, why does he always come? Like, he always has to go to the bathroom when or my sister is in here. But I said my sister's name. But I was like, he always has to come in the bathroom, use the bathroom when we're in here. And I did get chastised about that. But then after that, he started having to go to the bathroom when my brothers were in the bathroom as well. So it kind of like switched it up a little bit. But pretty much what would happen is turn the bath water on to take a shower. And then about 5 minutes later, all of a sudden he has to go to the bathroom. And now you got to wrap up in a towel, and run up out the bathroom. And he's walking past you, right? And so maybe to some people that doesn't like seem that much. But to me, as somebody who is being inappropriately touched, that's a whole lot to me. I don't think that's appropriate at all. I don't care the circumstances. Like, even if it doesn't involve the inappropriate touching, like, I just feel like that's a no-go. You can hold it. Either go to the bathroom before my child goes to the bathroom, or you can wait till after. But there will be no you coming in while they're trying to get out. And so that was normal, him having to go to the bathroom while we were in the shower. And I had caught on to it pretty quickly. Eventually, I kind of got tired of it. I would say about close to 11, and I know I'm jumping. I tested it out because I kind of felt like they had made me feel like every concern I had was like not that serious. And I knew that something was not right about that situation. the first time that I actually felt a hard eggplant was with him. We were driving and like where our house is, like honest to God truth. And I hate that I even have to do this because you will have family members who will accuse you of lying, and that hurts. That hurts, it does. But and I'm crying just because it does. It does hurt when you try to tell people the things that have happened to you and in your family and they don't believe you. So let me stop being a crybaby. But okay. But I remember that day. I remember we would do this thing where he would allow us to drive down the hill on his lap, right? And I had done this before a couple times. And I would actually say I was probably like 9. But on this day, I go to sit on his lap and I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, I get up and I'm like trying to get over. He was like, no, sit down. You're good. And I was like, oh, I want to move. And he was like, no, sit down. You're good. Go ahead. Come on, let's drive. You wanted to drive. Let's drive. And y'all, I remember just being feeling I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that what it was, it didn't feel right. Like I knew that the situation didn't feel right. But like I said, I didn't tell my mom. I didn't say anything to her just because of how she responded the first time. I would say about this age is when I started to realize that I was not the same skin tone as my siblings. All of my siblings growing up to me were light skinned. I was always like made to feel like I was the dark, ugly sibling, the dark, ugly sister. Whenever Pops would mention my sister's beauty, he would, oh yeah, my, one day he was like, I showed my coworkers a pictures of the girls and they were like, there's no way that light-skinned little girl is your daughter. She's just too pretty to be your daughter. Right? Well, if she's too light-skinned and pretty to be, what is being said to me now? At that age, I didn't know that was just psychological warfare. Like he was doing that purposely for me to hear so that it would break my spirit. I didn't know that at that time. And so at that time, I responded just as he thought I would. Like it made me feel some type of way inside. On top of that, people would always say I looked like him. And I hated that even more. Like I hated that. I didn't even say thank you when they said it. Like, I'm like, I don't freaking look like him. And he was dark skinned, and at that age, like I hated my dark skin because my mama didn't make me love my dark skin. Even when she would compliment my sister, she would compliment her size because my sister was closer to like she had more meat on her, and I was skinty, honey. I was very skinny, and my mama didn't even like skinny women. Like anytime a skinny woman came on the TV, she's like, her POTUS, da 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 da. And so that one made me feel insecure because I'm like, I'm skinny like that lady. Like, I don't have no meat. And when she would compliment my sister, she would be complimenting her skin sometimes, but mostly she complimented her body. So I have 2 parents who are not affirming my beauty to me, who are making me feel ugly. On top of when my mom would get mad at me, sometimes she would say things like, you look like your ugly A-daddy. And so obviously hearing that as a child, I'm going to interpret that as you're trying to tell me I'm ugly as well because you just called my daddy ugly. And so this led very early to very low self-esteem on top of the abuse. You have the emotional abuse there where I am made to feel like I'm ugly. I'm made to feel like I'm not as important as the other children. And then you have the physical abuse. And so it was a constant state of chaos, y'all. And when I say a constant state of chaos, I mean literally chaos. So for about 3 to 4 days, my parents would, they would get along with each other. But during that time, they're picking with the kids. Like they nitpicking with us about everything. They like complaining about stuff. Somebody getting a whooping. I honestly truly feel like there wasn't too many days where in the house that we went where somebody wasn't getting a whooping, right? And our whoopings wasn't just regular whoopings. I would say when my mama whooped us, it was a regular whooping. But when Pops whooped us, it was a whooping to defeat you mentally. There were several times I remember in my childhood where he started us young, beating us to the point where we said we didn't like. he would beat us until we would say we were nobody, right? And you're like, that's weird. Like, how does that happen? So he one day was whooping us and he was like, who do you think you are? And the first time he did it to me, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm just getting a spanking. Like, what is this? Like, what is this coming from? And I don't know if I had said something during my whooping or I don't know. I could have asked him, is the whooping almost over? And I honestly could have got that reaction. But I remember him saying, you know, who do you think you are? And I was like, I'm like, me? Pow! Who do you think you are? I'm like I'm getting scared now. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, I'm me. Pow, who do you think you are? I'm Trina. Pow, you think you trying to get smart at the mouth. I'm like, who do you think you are? You think you think you somebody, don't you? And I'm like, it just, I don't even know how it came out, but literally it just came out like nobody, like nobody. And he would literally beat us until we said nobody, to the point that like when he would say, who do you think you are? Like just from a rate, like a different whooping, like boom, you knew to say nobody. And I just don't understand the point of that. What is the point of beating a child and like having them say they think they're nobody? Like I'm not mad about the situation anymore. I think I'm just like emotional when it comes to like doing that to a child. I don't understand. Okay, so yeah, I'm not even hurt behind it no more. I think I'm just sad about the situation that somebody would even be capable of doing that to a kid. Like, I think that's where my tears come from. But yeah, that was going on, and we didn't know when we were gonna get a whooping. Like honestly, like walking in the house, it literally felt like, I know people have said like, you know, walking on eggshells, but it literally felt like landmines. Like you can go in there one day and like everything is okay, and then like an hour later, you know, boom, boom. It's like an hour later, it's chaos. And so we never knew what was going to happen when we went home. But it would be bouts of them, you know, they're getting along. 3 or 4 days they're getting along. And now it's war on the children. The kids are the reason why this and that. And, you know, then it's an argument. Something starts an argument, and then they're beefing with each other for like maybe 2 or 3 days. And during that time, now I see where my mom would be nicer to me. My mom would, she would just act like she cared. She would be kind to me. She would notice me. And, like she would be, you know, she would pretty much use me for, you know, love, whatever. And then Pops would be nice. And they would be cool again. And then it's back to being mean to me, being nasty to me. And that was really my relationship with my mom. Like, she'd be nice to me when my pops wasn't being nice to her. But, like, other than that, I don't recall ever, like, feeling loved or wanted. And even then, like, it got to a point where I didn't want it anymore. Like, I knew it wasn't real. And so I just kind of just, like, would just not even engage. Like, the whole, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here, Mom. What do you need? What do you need? Like, that was completely gone. Like, it faded away. I'm not gonna say it faded away soon. Like, it didn't fade away right away, but like after a couple years, and once I realized what it was, like it was just game, I ain't care no more. They argued all the time. It was just chaos. I don't remember too many days where we went home and it wasn't chaos. There were times where my siblings, where my brother, one of my brothers, like physically inserted himself to try to get Pops off my mama. And the police were called several times, but it never resolved anything. She always would end up going to go get him. And it was just, again, as soon as she came and got him, they friends again. That was normal. And I do think what contributed to that was just not being able to afford everything that they got. Like, we probably would have been much better off just staying where we were in Section 8 housing, because they couldn't afford to keep up. Like, it was just a constant, I think bills kicked in, and just having these kids who are constantly growing, constantly needing stuff. Even though our needs were not met, there were many times where we did not have a decent, meal or something to eat. And it would have made sense for them to go ahead and just go get food stamps or go to a food bank. But Pop's pride, I believe my mama would have went. She would have had no problem. But Pops would get upset whenever she would even bring it up. And so his pride would not allow us to have a decent meal. Instead, like, they would get angry at us. He would be angry at us, whenever there was not food in the house, we were blamed for it. Y'all didn't clean up. So no, y'all know how to eat, but y'all don't know how to clean up. We even got blamed for, like, our grades and stuff, like, which obviously we're responsible for that for the most part. But, like, they would only buy supplies for us in the beginning of the year, and so the rest of the year we just have to ask friends and see who can help us, who will give to us. And that's, after a while, that people get tired of you asking. And so I'm asking, we're asking my mom, like, hey, we need some paper. Why bought y'all paper in the beginning of the year? Like, what y'all been doing? Like, work. And so there would be times where we would be like, hey, I got a project due Friday. I need paper, right? Oh, I'll get it for you. Never get it. And then we end up getting a bad grade. And then we get in trouble. We would get in trouble for the bad grades when we didn't have the stuff we needed to succeed. About 8 to 10, that was my life, y'all. And I will honestly tell you, like, I remember being 8 years old in Miss Furlong class, and our little class was in a trailer in the back of the school, our 3rd grade class. And I remember being 8 years old at that time, being afraid to go home. I just remember that was my first time, like, actually becoming suicidal. Like, when I knew I was about to have to go home, I just didn't want to go home at all. Like, I didn't want to go home. And I remember that was my very first time having suicidal thoughts. That was my first time having suicidal thoughts and knowing, like, I don't want to, like, if I gotta live there, I don't want to live. I'd rather just not live there. I remember hating my life at the age of 8, after just loving my life at the age of 7. I remember that. And so 8 to 10 was really rough for me. 11 to 15, I would say, was when I was kind of fed up. I wasn't kind of fed up. I was fed up. And I was trying to escape. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was trying to escape. Around 11, I would say, like, around 11, 12 years old, I got my period. And I know, like, in most times, like, now, like, when I'm in a mom group right now, and I love seeing, like, all the moms, like, as soon as their kids, like, their daughters get their first cycle, they go out and they buy them, like, little baskets, and they fill it up with, like, pads and just all this stuff to, like, make them comfortable. And they give them, like, Tylenol or Motrin, or and they give them a little pad where they can write their thoughts down, like a little notepad, and all those things. And that was not the case for me, y'all. My mom definitely started treating me differently, because obviously when you get pregnant, for the most part, I guess that's, like, when you were able to start having children. And I think that she was, like, concerned, which I can't 100% say I blame her. At that time, like, I'm pretending that little boys are liking me, because, like, when I'm going to school, mind you, if they're not feeding us, obviously our clothes are looking crazy. When we outgrow stuff, they're not buying us new clothes. You just have to wear those pants that don't fit, or those shoes that are busted, or that whatever, you have to wear it. And so I'm getting picked on, and boys don't like you, and da-da-da. So y'all, I am literally, honey, writing myself notes, pretending to be some little boy from another school or whatever. Like, I'm just pretending to write myself a note. My parents, it's like, just so happened to look through my stuff that day, y'all, and they'll find this note, and they'll think that a little boy done wrote me, but it's my note myself. And instead of just embarrassing myself, like, oh, I wrote it to myself, I just would be like, okay, like, I don't care, like, it is what it is. I'm gonna get beat regardless. Is it worth even saying it's not real? Like, no. Because then I'm still gonna be in trouble regardless. So school had always been a place I had enjoyed. Like, in elementary, I had enjoyed going to school, and that's why I didn't want to go home. But I would say about middle school is when school was not enjoyable no more. I would have kids that would pick on me because I've never been the raunchy ghetto black girl. Like, that's just never been my persona. I've always been a regular black girl. I feel like on TV, black girls are made more aggressive, they're made more raunchy, and obviously they do exist. Like, we do have some ratchets, right? But I don't think that's the average black woman or the average black girl. And so I think people, even black girls that grew up in homes that, like, in decent neighborhoods like me, right, at that time, like, they even wanted to act ghetto. So like, when they see me coming to school and I'm all like, I had white friends, I hung out around a lot of white girls, and they see me all, oh my gosh, da, 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 like, yay, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, you're so perky, like trying to be mean to me and stuff and mock me. But they didn't realize that I was just joyous to be around people that actually were just nice to me, that treated me kindly. So I was always super excited to be around them, because I'm not in chaos right now. So like, I know I gotta go home at the end of the day, so I'm going to enjoy this. But about 6th grade is when things start going south for me at school, and you know, I'm getting picked on for all those things that I can't help. I can't help what my shoes look like, or that my shoes aren't name brand. I can't help how my clothes fit, or any of those things. So yeah, I started wanting to get away. And so these are my first attempts to get away from there. So I had started stealing money from my mama. Now, the money that I was stealing was my child support check, y'all. My mama never gave me none of my little child support check. I was always needing stuff. And while I understand that there are bills, I also understand, like, a child support check is for the child. Like, it's supposed to help take care of the kid. So I will say, like, my mama was one of those people that took my child support check and did what she wanted with it. Like, she spent my child support check on her. She didn't spend the child support check on me like that. And so there would be many times where I needed stuff, and I just started taking it from her. I remember one time I even asked her, because one of my classmates was like, when I get my child support check, you know, I'm gonna buy da 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 da. And I'm like, hold on, I get a child support check. You get your child support check? Like, your mama give me your child support check? She was like, yeah, my mama give me my child support check every month. I'm like, okay. So I'm scared, but I go to my mama and I'm like, because I need stuff, you know? I'm like, mama, you get a child support check for me, right? She was like, yeah, why? I'm like, can I have it? Can I have some of it? Can I have, what you mean? You know, she was like, da, da, da. But she kind of seemed like she was thinking about it. Like, I feel like she didn't get super aggressive with me like she normally do. But she was like, okay. And I was telling her, like, my friend get her child support check and she get to buy the stuff that she needs and stuff like that. And I kid you not, I don't know if it was the next morning or maybe the morning after that, but one of the mornings, she and Pops were talking but like early in the morning before he left for work. And they were talking about me, and so I could hear it, and I heard the child support like be brought up. So I got up and I walked to the top of the steps, and I sat at the top of the steps and I just listened. And he was like telling her, like, that's not her child support. Like, don't give, you know, that's for the bills. Like, she don't know what she's talking about. Da 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 da. Like, she's not getting any of that. Like, no, do not give her nothing. And my mama listened to him, y'all. And I kid you not, I went in, I want to say I asked my mama about it, like, later on that day. And she was like, no, you're not getting any of it. And so I started stealing after that. Like, after that, I would take like $5 here, $10 there, a couple dollars here, whatever. And I was taking it, y'all. I was about to get up out of there. Like, I was saving to buy me a ticket to get up out of there. But in the meantime, like, when I would take the money, my mama always sent me in the store for her. Like, if we were at home, I was going in the store with her. My mama rarely went to do her shopping if I was at home. And it wasn't like big grocery shopping. It was like, you know, go in Fred's real quick for me and go grab da 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 da. So this one day she sent me in Fred's, y'all. And I had took some of the money I stole. I bought me a hairbrush so I could try to do my hair. I bought me a poster board that I needed for a project. I bought, I want to say some type of hair lotion. And I bought me a candy bar with that. And I was like, you know what? I'm happy. Like, the joy I felt from getting the stuff that I needed, it just kind of fueled me constantly taking. So every month, about that time where I think my child support is dropping, baby, what I do? I take a little bit, and over months, right? I took here, there, or whatever. And my mom's accusing Pops of stealing. So I had calmed down a little bit, but then I had to catch back up. So I went, and one day I was in her room, and I ended up actually having to take her wallet with me, but I forgot to bring it back. And so now she looking for her wallet. We can't find it. We all looking for it. I know where the wallet is, baby, but I ain't finna tell her. So they give up, right? We forget about it, right? And then I get in trouble at school for something, and then they send my sister to go and look for notes, like look for notes for boys and stuff like that. She ends up finding the wallet and all the money that I had taken, y'all. And I want to say I had close to like $200, if not more, from my mama. So obviously I got towed up from the floor up. Do you hear me? For taking that, but I didn't care. My goal was to get to Ohio. I was gonna buy me a bus ticket from the Greyhound, and I had said what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get up there and I'm gonna tell somebody, like I'm gonna get off the Greyhound, and then I'm gonna find somebody, and somebody is going to get me. Like somebody gonna, I'm gonna tell them my story, and I'm gonna tell them how like bad I'm being treated. And then I'm gonna end it, they're gonna take care of me, they're gonna take me in. Like my mindset was very childish, y'all, because like I did not have a chance to like really didn't have a chance to really engage with other people. Like I went to school, but I was picked on for the most part by my classmates. Even within a home, like I said, I was dealing with abuse, physical abuse, and just being mistreated. Even with my mom, between like I said, with me and my sister, when my mom would do my hair, she would purposely do it very childish like. So like the grandma curl bangs, the grandma little curl in the back, little ponytail. She still got little ball barrettes on my hair. And for my sister, who's 2.5 years younger than me, okay, she's getting weaved, the little bang and stuff. She getting a little weave down with a little weave ponytail. And so the way that they treated me and my sister was completely different. I was not able to do things to like make myself feel good. Like I said, I couldn't even paint my nails, but my sister was able to wear fake nails. She was able to wear fake nails. And so the way that they treated me was very different from her. And so it rolled even to school to where like I was mistreated. I was mistreated because of how I looked. And so I tried to get away. And that was like my first attempt. But yeah, that was my first attempt my first time planning to get away. It didn't go through. They got the money. Y'all, they beat me so bad. They didn't even let me go to school the next couple days. Like I want to say I missed like 2 or 3 days after that. Because they had beat me so bad, they didn't want nobody to see. If y'all my age, y'all probably remember the little Fuji films and like it's like the Kodak cameras that was like yellow and red. My mama had a yellow one like that. It was like the Fuji film though. And I just remember taking pictures of all my bruises and stuff because I was gonna tell. I remember just doing that. I never got them because y'all, I planned on telling, and I wanted to tell, but I was afraid to tell because I felt like I knew if I told that there was a chance. On one end, I felt like if I told that they would take my siblings from their parents, and I just wanted to remove myself. I wanted them to be able to leave on their own, not because I exposed something. Like I literally had a dream, right, that I was gonna go to Ohio and that somebody was gonna be there to help me. And so like I was very stuck on Ohio. So when my mama took the money, I was a little defeated at first. But then, like I said, the abuse continued to happen. Me being touched continued to happen. And so what did I do? I said, okay, I'm gonna get up out of here. So I plan to go to Ohio again. This time I just said I'll probably just try to like hitchhike or something. And so what I had got some money again from my mama, but this time I wasn't saving over time. I want to say I took like maybe $40 or $60 from her, just enough to catch the bus. I had actually called down to the bus. Like this is during the time when we had yellow pages. So I called for the bus to figure out like how much a ticket would be. And I want to say they said like it was like $49.99 or something. And so I took enough for me to get my bus ticket and for me to get some food when I got there. And like I said, I was going to try to figure it out once I got there. But the way I was going to do it this time was I was going to stay with a friend, right? And then after staying with my friend a couple days, I was going to have them take me to the bus stop or whatever and just, take me to the bus stop so I could get up out of there. And so I wanted to spend time with my friend before I left. And we'll call my friend B. All right. So I set up the time to go to B house. And before I leave, I go around the house. I give all of my siblings a hug. I tell them that I love them. And then I go in my mama's room and I cut the telephone cord that went into the wall, right? And it kind of like short-circuited a little bit, or did something to where the light in her room stopped working. So I left it alone. I got on up out of there. My mom was laying down in the den. I left. I started walking and I went to an associate's house that was in the neighborhood. I went and called B and I was like, hey, you know, I'm on the way. And so it was so crazy because I had started walking, right? And I'm like getting out of my neighborhood and I'm about to go to Burger King because I done told her like, I'm gonna be at Burger King because there was a Burger King around the corner from my house. And as I'm walking to head towards Burger King, mind you, I'm scared because I'm like, I don't want nobody to see me. Like if my neighbors see me or anything, like I'm gonna be in trouble. And it just so happened B and her dad, I think, was driving by and they stopped and picked me up. So I got in the car with them, y'all, and we on our way. We're not even super far from the house, and it just so happened by that time my mama had realized I was not at home no more, and so we ended up passing by her. And when I passed by her, y'all, I heard him through my head down. Years later, I'm talking to Marcus, and he's like, "Yeah, like, were you in this type of van?" And da da da. And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I told Mom when we saw you, I saw you," and I'm like, "Oh my." I was like, that could have ruined everything, baby. But anyways, we go to her house, y'all, and I just had never felt so calm in somebody's house. Like I was just, oh my gosh, they weren't the sweetest people. They were so kind. Like just seeing the way that they treated B, her parents treated her, and like how sweet they were, and how like her mama cared about her feelings, and like was concerned, and like just all of that, y'all. It really just made me it really made me like want to go to Ohio more, because I'm like, that's what's waiting for me. Like when I get to Ohio, that's the type of like parent I'm gonna have there. Like, so whoever finds me, that's how they gonna treat me. And so that night we had a good time, watched a movie. The next day we got up, you know, had a good time, and then police come. Honey, they didn't connect the dots, and the associate, they went around the neighborhood looking for me, right? They found the associate. So the associate gave them the number that I had called that day when I asked to use his phone. And so they were able to pinpoint and figure out where I was, y'all. And when I tell y'all, I was not trying to go. Like, I was not trying to go at all. The officer went and tried to get me to come with him, y'all, and I fought the officer. Now, mind you, I'm not even 100 pounds. So me trying to fight him off, and I'm like, no, I'm not leaving, you know. It didn't work out in my favor, y'all. He ended up having to sit on my back, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna act right. They took me to the police station, and I oftentimes I think like why I didn't say what was going on, but I feel like because my mom didn't validate the things I said, it kind of made it as if it wasn't real, and like if I was to tell it to them, that nobody would believe me. And so like I would always run into people who are like, you know, you're just rebelling, you know. And I wouldn't tell them with the whole everything. I just give them surface level. Like, you know, they're mean to me. They're nasty to me. And they're like, you know, you just think that right now because you're a kid. Like, you'll be grateful for what they do. And I'm like, I'm going to be grateful that my pops is touching me inappropriately. And so I didn't want to hear what they had to say. So I'm like, no, you know, I don't want to hear that. And I ended up, Pops and Mama ended up coming up there. And we leave, y'all. And I'm talking about as soon as I get to them steps, I book it. Because I had just got through being with B and her family, and the way that just everything with them, it was like I could not bring myself to go in that house, y'all. And so I ran. Pop tried to catch me, baby. He thought he could, but he tried to catch me, but you know, he couldn't. I was very athletic at that age, so he could not catch me. I ended up hiding in somebody's shed for like hours. Like I hear them looking for me. Like they going through each house knocking, and you know, the police are talking to one another, and they're like, oh yeah, I saw her run, da da da. And I thought they was gonna find me, but they didn't, y'all. And it had got cold, and after a while I was just like, okay, you know what? They were talking about locking me up earlier, so I'm gonna see if they could just go ahead and just lock me up. I go to a friend's house that I had. They used to live there when I was younger. I go and I knock, and I'm like, you know, can I use the phone so I can call the police? He was like, aren't you that girl that they're looking for? I was like, yeah, but I want to call the police. And so he went and got me the phone, and, you know, let me call the police. Police come. They come take me to the precinct. And I was like, I don't want to go back home. I just want to go to Columbia. And they were like, oh, you know, you think it's a game and da-da-da. And I'm like, I just want to go. I don't want to go. Like, can it really be as bad as what I'm living with at the house? That's what I'm thinking to myself. Like, you keep talking about how bad it is, but like, I'm thinking to myself, like, how much worse can it be than my house? Like, you know, it is what it is. They ended up calling my parents up there, and they're like, you know, you need to come home, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, if you bring me home, I'm just going to run again. Like, I'm just gonna run. And then the police are like, you know what? Since she wants to go, let her go. She wants to be bad. Pops is all like, well, she just want to be able to brag to her friends that, you know, she got locked up and stuff. And I'm like, no. What friends? Y'all literally send me to school looking a hot mess every single day on purpose. My hair is never permed. My hair is never done. And that just sets me up to get picked on top of my clothes not fitting. My shoes look raggedy. Like, what friends am I going to be impressing? Like, I don't care about you. I don't care about them. Like, just send me to where, you know, or just send me because I'm not going in the house. Child, they sent me to Columbia, and I ain't gonna lie to you. I was a little scared when I got there because, baby, I go from being a super sheltered child. Granted, I was abusing stuff in the house, but, like, I was very sheltered. And I get there, and I meet a girl, two friends. They were two friends. One was mentally, oh, what's the word? I don't want to say the wrong word, but one was special. Okay. And the other one was not. They were like 15, 16 years old. They were charged with armed robbery. Another kid was like 12. He had been charged with felony arson for lighting up some type of park bench on fire. There was another girl I met. That was my very first time meeting a prostitute. She was 17 years old, had a 31-year-old pimp out of Memphis. She was from Memphis. You know, I was meeting kids that had actually done stuff, and here I am. I'm in there because I'm a runaway. And so I was there for about 2 weeks. At first, I was scared, and I was calling. I think I called home maybe a little bit. Like, I think I had called home because all the other people were calling home. And so I kind of felt like I wanted to feel as if I had some support, and so I did call home, but I don't think I called home much. Like, I think I called home like maybe once or twice, and I called home like after I had gotten into a fight. Y'all, a 16-year-old had attacked me, baby, and I was just like, okay, you know, I called home after that, but after that I just didn't care. Like, it kind of, you know, I didn't care. Like, after that fight had happened, I was like, you know, it don't get much worse. I mean, nobody's coming in here touching me or anything, so I'm good. Plus, I got 3 meals a day, okay? Honey, that's all they needed to sell me. 3 meals a day. I was tearing that little, what was it, a Kool-Aid cake? Baby, I was tearing that up, and I got dessert, so I didn't want to go home, y'all. I did not want to go home. But they made me go home. I asked a lawyer. I told him I want to go back. He was like, why do you want to go back? I said, you know, they abused me. He was like, how did they abuse you? And I was like, you know, they tell me I'm stupid. They tell me this. They tell me that. And he was like, okay. And then, you know, they sent me back home. And I was bummed out about it. Same stuff, you know, everything just kind of went right back to normal. So I felt really defeated after that. I felt like there was nothing I could do to escape. Because, like, this is my second time trying to escape. And even though I got away, it's like I didn't get away. And then I got away again. And I ended up, like, they just keep bringing me back here. And so I remember feeling just very suicidal. And during that time, that's about the time where I had started to self-harm. And I ain't gonna say, like, I was just 100%, like, turned up. But, like, I remember I would just go downstairs and just get a knife. And I'm just on my arms as like I'm playing a violin. I remember one of the times my sister had seen me come downstairs with a knife, and she was like, Mama, Trina's doing stuff to herself with a knife or something along those lines. And my mom was pretty much like, I do not care. She was like, I don't care. Like, you know, like, if she want to do something crazy, let her. I don't know. When I heard that, it kind of made me like, you know what? Oh, it was like, oh, you want me to do this. You're trying to make me do this, and I'm not gonna. Like, at that time, it was like I kind of changed my how I felt, and I was like, you know what? Like, no, I'm not gonna do this no more. I'm not gonna try to slit my wrist or do any of those things. I'm not going to. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it no more. And by the grace of God, like, y'all, if y'all look at my wrist, like, you can't even tell that was my past. By the grace of God, like, you can't tell. I started 7th grade, and about this time, I would say I met a friend, and my friend's name, we'll call her SM. So SM was cool. She was nice. Uh, However, sis was very, I'm not gonna say she was active. I would say she led on to being active. Um, Active. And so she was my friend, and I kind of felt like I needed to keep up. So what I like I said, no more fashion. What I would do, I would lie and pretend that I was keeping up, and I would lie about being active, knowing dang well my folks ain't letting me go nowhere or do a doggone thing. Maybe sometimes she would call, I pretend I had me a whole boyfriend, a whole man beside me, baby. And who? Okay. She was cool people's. She was funny. We always laughed together. And then sometime after that, I would say a girl moved from New York, and I'll call her BB. Now, BB was real cool. Me and BB clicked, right? But BB was from New York. BB was from New York. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I am born and raised in Tennessee. BB's from New York, okay? BB was cool for the most part at first. All right, I loved BB. I loved that I could tell BB about the things that was going on. Like, I didn't tell her everything, but like, I could tell her surface level stuff about what was going on in my house. BB seemed to be able to relate to me. BB was here living with her, I want to say aunt and uncle. And so she kind of shared that issue with parents. You know, we related to each other in that way. BB was very kind to me in the sense that, like, when she seen my clothes didn't fit, BB would bring me an extra pair of pants to wear so that while I was at school, I would have pants that fit me. BB would just let me wear stuff of hers. And so on that sense, me and BB was like, I considered BB a best friend. Now, the issue came in with BB when we would be around people. So, like, when it's just us, we're good. But, like, when we would be around SM or other people, especially dudes, BB would talk about my chest. Now, let me just say this, babe. I was in the 7th grade. I don't know why I thought I needed double D's in the 7th grade, but they sure made me feel like I needed them. And she would talk about my breasts and stuff like that. And so, honestly, it would just trigger me. It would be very triggering because, one, it reminded me of my relationship with my mama, where, like, I was good enough until Pops wanted, was cool with her, and then all of a sudden I wasn't good enough no more. And it also made me feel like, Pops with the bullying, and so my relationship with both of them became very kind of went south real quick after that, because I believe that now that I'm older, I do believe that they were probably joking. And I had told her before, like, by herself, like, can we not talk about my breasts and the size? And she was like, oh, okay, I didn't know, yeah, she would. But honey, she went right back to doing it like the next day. And I told SM the same thing. And like I said, they say, one thing, but then when we get around people, they started talking about me. And honey, that just kind of changed. Like, it made my crazy snap. And I will say, like, during this time, I would say between like 10 to like 13, I do believe that I did have some type of dissociative episodes, because, like, my relationship in the house, like, just my relationship with my parents in the household, I literally, outside of getting whooped and doing chores or whatever, where it actually required me to think, I was in my own little world with my own parents, with my own life. Like, I was not there. I would literally just daydream and daydream and daydream and daydream and daydream and daydream. And I think it just got to a point where it wasn't healthy. At one point, I was saying, like, 7th grade, people would say, like, people would come to me and be like, I heard you said such and such. And I'd be like, I didn't say that. And so either the people who were saying that I did say it, like they claimed they heard me say it, either they were just being cruel and lying and just trying to beat me down because that was the cool thing to do, or they really did hear it and I just don't recall saying it. Like, I literally would have people come up and say, did you say you were gonna do that? And I'd be like, no. And then something like, yeah, you did, you just said it. I'm like, what? Like, seriously. I do believe that there were some episodes in there because, like I said, it really got that bad. And so, like I said, the crazy clicked in. And honey, when BB got to a point where, like, she was doing it around a lot of dudes, like, I just kind of felt like she was trying to bully me then. And she was telling people, like, how I was wearing her clothes and stuff. And, like, at that point, when BB, like, got to a point where it felt like she was trying to bully me, honey, that was when she, like, that was a bad call. Because if anything I know, it's about bullying. Because Pops was a bully. And the one thing I learned about him is if you want to bully somebody, get everybody around them to not like them, or to, like, you know, you don't have to do it yourself. Like, it hurts more when you get the people around you to help. I wrote a paper and I said, you know, you're musty, because she had a little BO problems, and I wrote on it like, you're musty, you need some deodorant, you need to take a bath. And I went and I got like 50 people to sign that paper, and I gave it to her. And obviously it hurt her feelings, and afterwards I did kind of, I ain't gonna say I felt bad like right away. It honestly, it felt good to me, because the way I felt at that time, it was like, you know, I can't get Pops back. I can't bully him back, but I could bully you back. I can get you back. And that's what I call myself trying to do, honey. Now for SM, I was much more mad at her, because I was like, you know, I was your friend first, y'all. And like I said, psycho crazy, baby. I bought a knife to school and chased this girl around the hallway with it. And I can't tell you 100% if I was really going to do anything with it, but like, I was a little off. Like with both of them, I stopped being friends with them. Like I realized, like, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I kind of just got to a point where I felt like they were not my real friends. And, you know, I went back to just being lonely. I went back to wanting to leave and wanting to get out of here. So I'm back on my escape stuff. Like I remember praying to God, like, I need to get out of here. Like, I'm tired of this. I'm so tired of like going home being abused and like going to school and just being picked on and all of this. Like I'm ready to get up out of here. Like I need to get out of here. And I kid you not, like not long after that, I had a dream where I can't even remember that exact dream. I just remember there were like people who were like dressed in protective gear from head to toe, and like somebody had HIV. We were learning about diseases at this time, okay, at school. And so I think, you know, just when you just think about stuff, it just kind of set me, like I ended up having a dream about it. And so I had a dream that somebody had HIV, and like, you know, pretty much the people came, right? And they came and grabbed this person, they got them, and like they took them to a lab to like do experiments or stuff on them. Like that was a dream, y'all. And I feel so slow telling this story as an adult, but like as a 13-year-old, y'all, I thought that was my sign from God to get up out of there. So I literally thought in my heart to heart, like, I thought, y'all, I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna tell these people that I have HIV so that the people will come and get me. And they'll take me to the experiment lab. And then I'll tell them when I get there that I don't have HIV. Like I'm a virgin, but I can help you do stuff. Like I just need to get out of I just needed to get out of there because I was being abused. But you know, you can let me stay here. And you know, y'all, if there's one thing that I regret from childhood, it is doing that. Because like, oh my gosh, baby, like I think I was way too old to think that that was real, but I did. And so I'm literally then told a couple people, right? And every time somebody, like there's a knock on the door or like just anything, I'm like looking at the back of the door like, oh my gosh, they've come. And y'all, like I got people coming up to me like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, you know, I'm so sorry, if you need anything, you know, I got you. And to be quite honest, like it didn't mean anything. Like, honey, I was waiting for them people to come get me. All right, so about like, I'd say like fourth period, it's almost time to go home, and nothing. Like nothing. Obviously, you know, but I'm devastated. I'm starting to like lose hope. I'm starting to feel bad because like I'm thinking they gonna come get me before I go home. Child, the principal comes to me and she's like, do you have HIV? And I was like, no. And she was like, well, I'm gonna need you to stop telling people that you do. Okay. When she came and asked me, I got scared because I'm like, oh my gosh, you're gonna tell my parents. And so I told her, I was like, no. And so yeah, she was like, you know, I need you to stop. Like I got parents calling up here and you know they're concerned, and you know we don't need them stressing about stuff like that, so don't tell anybody, y'all. And as you guessed it, Didn't nobody come get me. Ain't nobody come get me. And I had to go back home. I got back home and my mom was just like, you know, like, don't even say nothing. Your daddy gonna deal with you when he get here. And so I just sat there. I was pissed. And when Pops got home, he literally went outside to the back, got some of the thickest switches, and beat the crap out of me. And I was not able to go to school. So yeah. And when I returned back to school, I just remember people being so nasty to me, like, oh, you tried to lie about having HIV because you don't want somebody to feel sorry for me. And I'm like, I freaking hate y'all. The last thing I want is y'all sympathy. Like, it was so weird to me how people came up to me trying to be nice to me. And I'm like, you were just being nasty to me yesterday. Yesterday you were talking about my shoes and now you feel sorry for me. And then the day after, after that, when I returned to school, people are like, you just want pity. Like, no, like, I want to get away from y'all. Like, I hate y'all. I hate y'all. Like, seriously hate y'all. And so it just made my school experience worse on top of the constant crap I'm dealing with at home. And I get to a point where I'm like suicidal again. I get to the point where like I'm wanting to just take pills. And I will say, like, there were a few times where I poured a little pine sol in my drink, y'all. I just couldn't go through with just I couldn't put a whole lot in there. I just kind of just was like, I'll start low and work my way up. But yeah. It was rough, but 8th grade year starts, y'all, and I met this bomb girl. Like, this girl was so bomb. Her name, I'm just gonna put her name as JC, and I have never met a person as genuine as JC ever in my life. JC wasn't really even like trying to be cool with me at first because of all the drama, like all the stuff that happened before, and then that. And but she ended up getting to know me, and once she got to know me, like we became like this. Okay, we were like this. JC was in a lot of my classes, and so during that time, like everything that was going on, like from just any of it didn't even matter no more, because I knew when I went to school the next day, JC was gonna be there. And she brought so much light to a spot in my life where it was just dark, and I was literally on the verge of just doing this thing, like just committing suicide for real. And JC really she loved me genuinely. Like, she treated me like a human being. She got to know me, and like I really felt like I could just be myself for her. I didn't have to I didn't have to pretend that I was messing around with boys for her to think I was cool. I didn't have to do all these fashion things and dress the nicest. Like, JC was a humble person. Like, JC was just a very genuine person. I love that JC didn't let people bully her. Whether you was popular or not, baby, you was not finna play with JC, okay? She wasn't a bully, but she wasn't like one of those super, like, one of them. But baby, if you did it something to her to bring it out, she sure was gonna give it to you. So I respected her for that. JC was wearing natural hair before it was ever cool thing. I remember thinking that she was like borderline bald head, right? And then when she came in her hair, it was like down her back, and I'm like, is that your hair? She was like, yeah, girl, my mama pressed my hair. And I'm like learning this, right? JC was the one that put in my mind natural hair. And so I adored her. But she made life bearable. She brought joy to my mind. She brought joy to my spirit, to the point that it didn't bother me about what was going on or what people were saying, because JC was teaching me how to love myself. She was a dark-skinned girl, and she was, her mama, I think her mama just raised her to love herself, and so it was natural for her. So when I got around her and I'm talking about all this self-hate and stuff, she like, girl, we don't do that over here. And so JC really influenced me to love myself and to just be, just be humble. I remember she was talking about her mama, y'all. I remember the first time she told me, like, her mama worked at Wendy's. I was like, over here, like, Wendy's? And she was like, yeah, she a manager. I still laugh at that, because honestly, like, I would have been so embarrassed to tell people that, but like, she was just like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Like, you either gonna accept me how I am, or you're not. Like, but like, I'm not gonna fake it for you. And so, I love that. She even came to my house on one of my projects, and I told y'all, like, at the old house we had roaches. Well, guess what? We brought all that furniture and stuff to the new house. So guess what? Eventually had roaches as well. The new house. So I was afraid that they were gonna see it, and I warned her beforehand. I was like, hey, I have roaches, so just want to let you know before you come. She was like, oh girl, it's okay. We used to have, I think she said something along the lines of like she used to have roaches, so it's all right, or she wasn't worried about it. And I was so afraid that like she was gonna be like friends from the past that like smiled in my face and then went and tried to humiliate me. But she didn't. She didn't say nothing about it. She never mentioned it again. We're finally going to ninth grade. Me and her are going to be lawyers, okay? I want to be a lawyer. She's like, oh, I want to be a lawyer. And so, that was something that we vibed over. And I started working harder on my grades. I started like being able to actually focus on my grades. Like, she really inspired me and motivated me to want to do better for myself. And I would tell her, I didn't tell her everything that I was going through in the house, but like she did empathize with me on the things that I did tell her. I told her very surface level things, but she was always supportive and there for me when I needed her. And then one day, I don't remember exactly when, but sometime in ninth grade, she ends up having to move to Texas. Her dad is getting out of prison. Would have never known that. But her dad's getting out of prison and her mama is going there. And so they're moving there when he get out because, they're going to be a family. And y'all, when I tell you, I was so devastated when she left. Like, I cried when she left. Like, I gave her a bunch of hugs before she left. And then I cried, like, while I was at school, because she had left to go home, and I was doing tryouts for the step team. And, like, I remember I couldn't even do the step. Like, I was constantly, messing up and having to restart, and just, like, it was just a hot mess. I just went home, and, y'all, I was depressed. I was sad, and it was awful. Like, I really lost that light that I had that she brought into my life. And obviously when she moved, like, I wasn't able to contact her as much because, like, they were very controlling about the phone. And so I just, had to make do. And so I got back to a point where I was lost. And I started hanging out with SM again. And, that was that. And I got a boyfriend, but me and him didn't work out. And then I got another boyfriend. Now, that boyfriend, I will say that I can tell from a very young age, I was attracted to people that seemed broken like me. Like, I was afraid to date people that had their stuff together or seemed to have like a normal childhood, because I felt like you weren't gonna understand me. Like, you would probably pick at me or laugh at me or try to humiliate me about the things that I was going through. Whereas somebody who's broken like me or going through things like me, like, they're going to accept my brokenness and they're going to be less likely to judge me. And that's what I did. So I started talking to this boy. He's saying all the right things, but y'all know how them little teenagers that's after one thing saying, he told me I'm beautiful, I'm pretty, I look good. He want to be with me and all this stuff. And then he ends up getting suspended. Or expelled, one. And so I have his number, and we continue to talk. I'm having to sneak and talk to him and stuff like that, but we're talking. And about this time, my mom ends up having a stroke. It was a stroke or a heart attack. She ends up having to be rushed to the hospital. And I remember Pops just coming to us and was like, this is y'all fault. Your mom is in the hospital because of y'all. Acting like he's not beating her tail every other month. Acting like him causing arguments every other day for something is not contributing to it, or him being an alcoholic is not stressing her out. Like, I'm positive her being a mom to kids is not as stressful as having to deal with an alcoholic husband who can't afford the bills. Like, which one you think gonna be more stressful? But anyways, yeah, he came and blamed that all on us, which was to me, I think that's like, I don't think that's I don't think that's appropriate. I don't think that was appropriate at all, because let's say something would have happened to my mom and you like actually said that to us, like that would have been on our minds, you know, like, oh, it's our fault. And I was 15 and like all my siblings were younger than me. Like that was just weird. But anyways, I got in trouble the next day, and I remember this man literally looking me in my eyes and telling me, he says that if something happens to your mama, y'all will not, talking about me and my sister, y'all will not be going to go live with your dad. But he said my dad's name. He said, we've already worked it out. You will never go live with him. That made my level of worry go through the roof, because I immediately was like, this man's probably gonna try to rape me or something. Like, that was a real fear of mine. Like, that was, honest to God truth, that was a real fear of mine at that age. I was very afraid that this man was going to try to do that and try to like make me be his wife or something. Like, it was just really disgusting. He was always trying to do stuff with just me or like just with my sister. Sometimes he would have the boys as well, but like I didn't want to, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't trying to, for the most part, I was trying to like get away. Like I didn't want to be around him because of the inappropriate things he would do and say. He would make jokes about his eggplant, okay? Inappropriate stuff, talking about he can smell himself through his pants. And my mom would just be like, stop, like you shouldn't say that. And he'd be like, I'm grown, like I'd say what I want to. And so all those things contributed to me just feeling more uncomfortable. I'm not gonna say that was 100% the reason, but like I do feel like that was one of the concerns I had, and one of the reasons I was like, okay, I'm ready to have sex. Like I refuse. I don't want him to be the first person I have sex with. I don't want him to like, you know, I don't want that experience to be my first experience. No, I remember just being like, I'm gonna choose it. Like I want it to be something that I pick. And so, you know, I already have my boyfriend who's talking to me about stuff, and so that was the move. I was like, you know, I wanted to be him, but I wanted it to be when I wanted it to be. And so, y'all, I start sneaking out at night because obviously, you know, they're not letting me go nowhere. So I start sneaking out. And now I will say I got caught the first time. And I want to say, I don't know if I got caught going out the first time or if I got caught coming back. But I begged my sister not to tell, and she said she wasn't going to tell that time. Now, I want to say I snuck out maybe 2 more times after that. 1 or 2 more times. And I remember my sister telling me, she was like, Trina, mind you, we were going to church, right, every Sunday. So we had been going to church every Sunday for years. She gonna tell me, Trina, you're gonna go to hell if you keep sneaking out. And I was like, okay. So I leave, right, and I go, and I'm spending time with him, and we go, and, you know, we go and we hang out, but we never do anything at all. Like, I always stop it before we get too much. And then, you know, he brings me back home, walks me back to the house. I sneak back inside. Now, the third time I snuck out, child, that's third time's the charm, right? I go upstairs and I act like I'm sleep upstairs. Everybody else is sleeping downstairs because the air conditioner upstairs is not working. But I tell them I'm sleeping upstairs. Now, I'm leaving out, and again, my sister does her regular, you gonna go to hell. I'm like, okay. And I dump up out of there. Now, she agrees to not tell. And I go, and I'm having a good time. I'm chilling at his house, you know. And then I get a phone call. A phone call comes through, and it's from my mama's house. And my mama's name pop up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she knows I'm gone. And so he answers the phone, and he's like, is, you know, Katrina over there? He's like, no ma'am. And he was like, okay, well, I got her talking like this the last phone call. So he said, yeah, I talked to her earlier, but she told me she was going to bed, blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay. So I'm in an immediate panic because I'm like, they're going to kill me. Like, they're going to kill me. And I'm like, I can't go back home. Like, I am not going back home. And so he's like, okay, look, I'm going to take you to my aunt's house and we'll talk to my mom and see if you can stay there. So the thing is he lived behind my neighborhood, and his aunt was across, like we had to go through my neighborhood, across the road, cross the traffic road, you know, where the road with the traffic is, and then walk to his aunt's apartment. Y'all, tell me why my mama catches us on the way to his auntie house. So we didn't cross into my neighborhood. I'm scared. I see a car coming. So we see a little bit of lights, and I think we saw her. We saw her before she saw us, y'all. And I immediately, he's like, run behind the tree. So I hurry up and I tiptoe behind the tree on the other side, right? And she's like, excuse me, young man. She said, what's your name? He give her a fake name. He's like, do you know this boy name? And we'll call him KK. And she's like, you know KK? He's like, no, I think I've heard of him, but I don't know him like that. She was like, okay, well, do you know Katrina? Da da da. And he's like, no, I don't know who that is. He's like, well, have you seen a little girl walking around here with a boy or something? No, I've been out here by myself. I ain't seen nobody. I'm on my way home. She's like, okay, all right, well, thank you, baby. To pull us off, y'all. We wait till my mama pulls off, and then I'm talking about, I'm booking it up that hill. I'm so scared. Every time my car comes, we are hiding behind the car, like on the side, that's parked on the side, right? Finally get across, get to his aunt's house, and his mom is there, and I go in, and I'm not knowing what to expect. I'm just like, hi. So he explains to his mom what's going on, and I tell her, like, so I'm scared to go back home. Like, my parents, they abuse me, they do all these things to me. And like, I'm not going, like, I'm scared to go back home. Like, I'd rather just go back to Columbia. And I'm like, like I said, I just got beat like the other day. And she's like, I said, I want to say, like, I got kicked in the back, and my mom had kicked me in the back. She had got mad about some fish I told her I didn't know how to cook. So like, she ended up literally like hitting me with her fist and kicking me while I was on the floor. And she looked at my back, and I was like, yeah, so you probably can't see the bruises because I'm dark skinned. She was like, yeah, I'm dark skinned too, but I see a little bit. I see some. She said, we just don't bruise easily. She was like, yeah, you can stay here. Y'all ended up staying there for like, I ended up staying with his family for like 6 weeks. 6 weeks. They told me to call her like after a week. I had to call her from a payphone, tell her I was okay. So I did that. And I think like while I was there, the police were actually even there. And so I told her, like, I'm sorry, I'm not coming back home. I'm not coming back home, but I'm okay. And so that was the conversation. I would call her either blocked. First, I started calling her blocked, but then I started calling her from payphones, like maybe weekly, and just telling her, like, I'm okay, but I'm not coming back home. And so I stayed with them. I did end up losing my virginity during that time. Honey, after that, I ended up finding out this boy, I had not two like another girlfriend, but he had 2 more girlfriends on top of me. Very childish situation, but they helped me out. And I do remember, like, at one point, like, we ended up having to move to the house that I was at, like his actual mama's house. And we were there, and she was like, pretty much she was like, you're gonna have to figure out what you're gonna do because school's about to get started. Like, I had ran away, I want to say maybe June. I want to say I ended up moving. I ran away around end of May, early June, and I stayed there till like July. And they were like, you're gonna have to, either you're gonna go home or something, because you're gonna have to go to school. Like, you can't just be out of school. We'll get in trouble. And so I ended up calling my dad, right? And I was like, hey, I ran away. And I was just calling to talk to you. And he was like, yeah, your mom told me that you ran away, And I was like, I was just wondering if I could come live with you, because this entire time, like, even though I talked to my dad on and off, like, he would always say, like, when he could, because obviously, our calls were censored. But he would always say, if your mom let you come live with me, you could come live with me. And so I was like, this is a great time, so I'm going, y'all. And it was, my dad did come up here and get me. Y'all, he came and get me, and we left that's like right back out. Like, he drove that many hours and then came and got me, and we left. And then when he got me, we went shopping at this store, like the first store we got into, Mississippi. We did go shopping, and I got, like, he let me get some clothes, like clothes that were just nice clothes that like would fit me. He let me go shopping and grab that. And so that's like one of my memories of my dad. Like, he like really made me feel special. And then we went home, and then he made me call my mom, and I told my mama, and I was like, hey, mama. She was like, you are in Mississippi? Y'all, that was like my checkmate to Pops. Like, you said I would never make it to my daddy, right? You said I would never live with my daddy. And here I am with my daddy. Because it was a very short-lived celebration. Because my daddy, I don't remember exactly what happened for us to fall out, but my daddy had said something. Like, I think I was upset because, like, he wasn't really spending time with me. And, like, every time we spent time together, it was like me, him, and his girlfriend or something. And I didn't like that. I was just like, like, can it just be us or whatever? And I was disrespectful to his girlfriends. Because I would be like, I would call them tramps or like hoochies or whatever. But I wouldn't tell them directly. I'd be like, why are you always bringing hoochies around us? Like, while they're present. So definitely out of line. But I was just like, you pretty much, I was just asking for more attention. And he was like, like, if it's a problem, like, you called me. You asked me to come get you. And, he was like, I done did all this stuff for you. I done bought you this stuff. I done did stuff for you your mama wouldn't do. Like, you're just being ungrateful. And I remember just feeling like, nah, like, if you think that you spending money on me equates to me feeling like, and equates to you being a good dad, like, that's great and all, but like, I'm asking for your time. Like, we have so much time that we haven't been around each other, and I'm just asking. And not to mention, he pawned me off on my sister when he got there. So I had an older sister that, like, he pawned me off on. So, like, I'm in her living room sleeping on her couch or whatever. And yeah, I was upset about it because I'm thinking I'm coming down here to spend time with you. And so after that, like, I gave him back all his clothes, everything he bought me. He bought me some cute stuff. I loved it. That was my first time having that many clothes at one time. And they were all nice clothes, like cute clothes. And I told him he could have it. I was like, you can have all that. I don't want none of it no more. Like, no. And so, yeah, I'm stubborn. But I ended up calling my mama and telling my mom like what had happened, and she was like, well, I'm sorry, like, but that's your daddy. Like, I was trying to save you from that. Pops gets on the phone and he's like, well, you can't make somebody love you that don't love you, but we can come get you. And I'm like, no. I'm like, no, you can't come get me. I'm not going nowhere with you. I'm like, no, I think I'm just going to go ahead and go stay with my grandma. Like mom had suggested. She was like, I'm sorry that happened. I'm going to see if mama can come grab you. And, you just go spend some time with mama. And I was like, okay. Pops, he's on the phone and he's like, you can't make somebody that don't love you, but we love you. We can come get you. And I'm like, heck, now you can't come get me. You want me to run away? So I was like, no, like, absolutely not. Like, I was calling to cry to my mom, not you. And no, you're not going to come get me. And so my mom had called my grandma. My grandma ended up having my auntie come get me. And that's when I started to live with my grandparents and my aunt. And I will say it was nice being around my grandma. My grandma was a very loving person. She was another person that helped me love my dark skin, and she just really just loved on me, and I really needed that I really needed that. I probably should have went and lived with somebody who was a bit stricter and more capable of raising a teenager, because I just think that my grandparents were tired. They were elderly anyway, so it was too much freedom. But when I did go down there, I remember my grandma was like, Lucy, like, you ain't gonna be able to do the stuff that you be doing. Like, you run away down here, baby, ain't gonna be nowhere to run to. Like, you could really hurt yourself. And she was like, why are you, like, what is the problem? And I ended up telling her, and I told my aunt, like, what was going on in that house. I was like, they always beat us. They don't really feed us. And on top of that, Pops is touching me inappropriately. And she was like, I just don't see, your mama letting that happen. I don't see your mama allowing that to happen. I'm like, yes, that's what's happening. And my aunt ended up talking to one of my other aunts, and that aunt was like, I knew something was going on in the house, because ain't no way that girl just running away for no reason. But the crazy thing is nobody said nothing to them. I just knew that once I told that they would, like, have police come and arrest him, and I'd be able to tell my story and have him prosecuted. But nothing came of that. Like, nobody said anything after that. No, nothing. And so I do feel like they dropped the ball on that because, you know, I think I was expecting something to come from that. And I do think that that also, that contributed to me like feeling like I wasn't worthy of being protected. And that really just kind of hurt my self-esteem. I ended up going to school. Yeah, I was excelling. I was doing real good. Mississippi is so far behind. At least far behind from Tennessee. And so I was doing real good on my test. I was getting top for like my state test for Mississippi. And I was doing real well. I ended up meeting my first son's dad, y'all. And I just knew that we was going to be together forever. Well, baby, it was a hot mess. He was very abusive. And I ended up having to leave. And I was down there with my grandparents for like maybe 2 years. Around 2 years. So I ended up having to come back up here to my parents' house. And I ended up having to come back to Tennessee. And it was the same crap as it was when I left. Granted that my siblings did have more freedom than I did. And I do believe, like they said that it was because they didn't want my siblings running away and they weren't trying to smother them like they did me. But like the abuse was still the same. Pops would wake us up at like 12, 1 o'clock at night, and we would, on a school night, and we would have to stay up to like 4 or 5 o'clock cleaning up until the house was clean to what he said it was clean, and go to school. Like we had a full night's rest. And the bullying was still in full effect. Like it was awful. On top of them still not feeding the kids correctly, Pops at that time was very open about having a side chick. Like that's bold to me, baby, because one thing you could never do to me and be my husband and telling my children that you got a side chick, telling my kids what you doing with your side chick. And I like, what? Baby, no, absolutely not. That would never, ever be a reality in my home. Ever. Okay? Baby, you would have to go before I allowed you to do that. But that's what Pops did. He would talk to all of us. Like, that's what he would want to talk about. Like, he would make us come and sit beside him and listen to that crap. Like, listen to him talk about that. And listen to him about the stuff that he was doing for his side chick and stuff. And there would be no food in the house. Like, there would literally be, like, beans and stuff, like curry beans, or there would be, like, cans of vegetables and stuff. And we would have to eat that, you know what I'm saying? So, and at that time, my mama and him was working, but, child, they would be getting into, like, petty stuff where, oh, you had money to pay for food. I'm not going to take my money and buy food. When you had the money, you shouldn't have spent the money on your, you know, on what you spent it on. So, it was a hot mess. The kids we all ended up suffering. And I remember just feeling like grateful that Bugo, my oldest boy, was a baby and he didn't eat real food. It was crazy that we really just suffered because, you know, they were trying to be nasty towards one another. The sexual stuff, like that even continued. Like he would ask me to come and watch stuff with him. Granted, he watched these things like with other people too. But like sometimes he was just weird. Like he was very adamant about me coming and watch a movie called I think it was like I Spit on Your Grave. It was about a lady who was R-paid, and he wanted to watch that with me. And I'm sitting here like trying to get away. He's like, no, yeah, you can watch it. And I'm like, why would you want to watch a movie about that with me? Like, the heck do you think this is? I remember I was talking about like wanting to get my own place, y'all, because I was over the weird stuff. Like, one day I'm upstairs in my room and nobody really ever came upstairs. And so I'm upstairs in my room and I'm with my baby and I'm changing and like I'm getting ready to get a new shirt, but I'm having a mommy moment with him. And I'm like, you know, and he's just giggling and we just having a good time. Y'all, I look up and this man is literally in the doorway just, and as soon as like he doesn't, like as soon as I make eye contact, it's not like he just goes and moves. I literally have to cover up and then he starts to walk downstairs. Don't, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, wasn't trying to do that. Like none of that. And I didn't tell my mama. I ended up telling a relative, and they were like, you know what, it's not that deep. Like you're being dramatic. Like, you know, it's a misunderstanding. Like you're just always trying to do stuff to get attention. Like I'm just like, you know what, I'm not saying nothing else to you again. Like, I'm done. And so I really wanted to get into my own apartment because I'm like, no, like, this is disgusting. Like, I'm not a little girl anymore. Granted, I wasn't strong enough to like report it or say anything, but like, I was just like, I'm not dealing with this crap. And I do know that he has started touching me again while I was asleep. And I wanted to get up out of there. So I started trying to figure out like how to get my own apartment. I was talking to my own mama. I was talking to my mama about it. And she's like, "Girl, you ain't get no apartment, da 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 da." And I'm like, "Yes, the heck I am. Yes, I am." And he ended up coming to me one day and was like, "You know, we can get an apartment together. I just need to we'll put it in your name and I'll pay the bills." And I'm like, "No." Like, absolutely not. Like, no, we're not doing that, y'all. It was just so many weird things. I moved out twice during this time. So one of the times I was still in school, and I moved out, and the lady I moved out with what her daughter was friends with my sister, y'all. And this lady was literally trying to get me to talk to a 36-year-old because that's where the money was. Mind you, this man lived in a trailer, okay? And I ain't got nothing against people that live in a trailer. A lot of my family live in trailers. Like, what is that to tell an 18-year-old? That's where the money is. Money where? Where is the money? It's not that trailer. I did move out from her, and then I moved in with a coworker from a job that I was working, and I pretty much was just a babysitter for her. That did not work out. I ended up having to move back home, and then the third time I moved out was with my child's father, and y'all already know the story of that, honey. Straight up narcissist, and that was a whirlwind relationship for about 5 years, on and off. I did end up losing my kids. At that time, I only had 2 kids. When I was 20 years old, I ended up losing my 2 oldest kids that were 3 and 4 months old at that time. And I lost them for 8 months. And then that following year, I was, 21? Yeah, I was 21. I gave birth to my 3rd child that May. I had moved out, got my own house, and you know, things were great. And I had distanced myself from my parents. Like, they didn't know where I lived at all. I did not tell them where I lived. I didn't, like, nothing. Like, no, they couldn't. They weren't. I didn't even allow them over my house. And then that same year, the night before Thanksgiving, Pops died of a stroke, diabetic stroke. And then 10 months later, my mama died from a stroke and a heart attack. Y'all, that was the toughest time of my life. Toughest time of my life. All my babies have been later. I've had to get them out myself. Like, I've had to go in and like have them induced. I had to get them out. And not the last one, y'all. I was under so much stress that he came early. He came like almost 4 weeks early. And so I was under a lot of stress. I moved in her house with my siblings. And then we ended up losing her house because they were already banked. Like, they had already filed for bankruptcy. So even if I had paid on the house, there was no guarantee that they would have allowed us to keep it. So we moved out, and over the next few years, I constantly struggled. I worked just to lose. I lost my homes, I lost my cars, I lost jobs. It was a constant struggle. It was like, no matter how hard I worked, it was just never enough to get us to the next level. And I went to a dark spot again. I went to dark spots again. But I would say before I got all the way there, about 25, I had dated one person after I broke up completely with my ex. So after I stopped dating him, I dated this older gentleman, and y'all, it was a complete mess. And at that time, like, I was 25, and it was April of 2015, y'all. I said, I'm done. Like, I'm just gonna start working on myself. I don't want to entertain nobody else, y'all. And I have been celibate ever since then. I've been celibate. And so continuing to work, continuing to try to make something work, and every which way, y'all, I can't get to the next level. It's like, no matter how hard I work, it's just never enough. And so I struggle. I constantly lose. And then the last time I got evicted, me and my brother ended up getting an apartment together. I didn't work. I didn't contribute to no bills. I literally took that year to just decompress from the stress that I had from all those years of just working just to have nothing. Like, I literally took that year to go to my kids' stuff, to get some sleep, to be able to do homework with them, like all of that. And so by the time I got housing, like it was already pretty much routine of like just this lifestyle of just being there for my kids. And then I returned to school when I got into public housing. I was honestly like afraid to move in. Like I got my housing in July. I didn't move in here until October. Like I was afraid. But like when I actually did move in, y'all, it wasn't even that bad. I can say like this is the most peaceful my life was, as far as like having to worry about bills. Like the stress of worrying about bills was completely done. Even if there was a situation where I didn't have the money for something that was coming up, like it was affordable, so it wasn't really a stress for me. Like I knew I was going to be able to pay it. From like 28 to like 30 of me living here, it was just me living a peaceful life. Like just living a life that didn't revolve around constantly being afraid of something, whether the bills or the repo man or an eviction, or am I gonna have to call out this week because, you know, somebody's sick or something. Like this was the first time that I was able to live a life where it was just peaceful all around. Like, and even if I had a problem, it was an easily solved problem. And then COVID happened, y'all, and it's like a turn of things. So that entire time, like had been working on like just decompressing from stress and stuff. And then 30 came around and I felt like Christ found me, baby, found me and wheeled me back in. And these past 2 years have been nothing but working on forgiveness, working on forgiving my parents. Like when I came back to Christ, I knew that I was gonna have to, like, God made it very clear, like you're gonna have to release that resentment you have for them. And I didn't think that was fair. I was like, you seen what they did to me. You seen, like, I can blame everything on my life. Every bad decision I've made, I can pull it back to like my childhood. And everything that has happened has been like a domino effect. So I should have the right to be mad at them. And honestly, like, nah. It has been a struggle to forgive them. And I'll be honest and say that, like, it has not been easy at all. But, like, I'm so grateful to be on this side of healing because I am free. It's good. It feels good to be free. Like, this is like the first time like I've actually told the story of the abuse that I endured, y'all, and it did not involve me feeling this feeling of fear that I normally fear. That fear is gone. That fear is gone. Like it's literally gone. And like I have nobody to thank but God, because I know that's nothing but God. I know that there was nothing but God that made me release them, that made me even get to a point where I was like, you know what, okay, I'd rather trade what I have. So yes, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be at this spot, y'all, because it was not easy to get here. It was not easy to get to a point where I can actually say I forgive them. Like I actually forgive them out of all the evil that they've done to me. Like it's like I'm good. I'm so good, and it feels good to be at a spot where like I can say like I'm good. Like you can have that. Because like here's the thing with unforgiveness, you can't hold unforgiveness without holding yourself there at that spot too. You're trying to hold them and you're holding yourself there because you got to sit there and hold what they've done. So you can't releasing them, but you're also holding yourself there. And I can honestly see like that's what's happened to me. There are so many things that I've tried to do in life, and it seems like no matter how hard I worked, like life just continued to be a struggle for me. And I do feel like that unforgiveness, that stopped a lot of fruit for me. That stopped a lot of fruit and things that I could have had from growing because I'm trying to hold on to bitterness. And so on this side, like I would highly encourage anybody to forgive. Like when I first wanted to tell this story, y'all, I just wanted to be angry. Like I just wanted to get to a point where I can finally say like, okay, like, you know, somebody knows. Like now, like you don't get that good reputation that you had. That reputation is messed up because now I get to tell the truth about you. But here now, like I said, after the forgiveness, it's not even about them no more. It's about me. It's about how my life has changed and is changing and will change because I release them from what they've done to me. Like, stay tuned, y'all. I do think greatness is upon me. I want to thank you guys for being here for me. I appreciate all the kind words. I appreciate the encouragements that you guys have given me and the support. I can see how my childhood has definitely helped fertilize the things that are going to grow in my future. And I encourage you guys to work out whatever things are that you are battling, any forms of unforgiveness that you have in your life. I encourage you to work through them so that you can also come out on the other side. But I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.